There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Daily Sip. We're just chatting before with Sarah how quite timely that yesterday Andy Kent from Andy's Cars was on, and someone that, if you didn't see it, I recommend watching it. Andy's an amazing guy and has been very big part of my life on a personal level. And the way that Sarah and I have been connected is actually because of Andy, even though it was totally coincidental that the two episodes are next to each other. So as it says at the bottom, we're going to be talking around motivation and unlocking people's potential and lots of really interesting conversations to come today. But first of all, Sarah, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me, Matt.
That's a pleasure. And as we were saying before, we're actually very nearby. You're sort of like 10 miles or something away in St Neots, and I'm in St Ives. So we are quite local in terms of geography, but it's amazing we've got this technology to be able to connect up, particularly through the COVID world as well, right?
Yeah, completely. Where would we be without it at the moment?
Absolutely. It's been yeah, I think lots will get stuck into about that in today's chat as well. I know you've been doing some very interesting webinars and things like that, but let's kick off, everyone watching. Just could you give us a minute or two, a bit of a back summary of you and your work as well?
Yeah, so I've had an interesting journey, really. So I've always been passionate about enabling people to shine. Started my career in HR. Please don't hold that against me.
Do you know what? My first job was in HR as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was a charity called Scope, and their HR department was in St Ives. But anyway, that's just to say that HR is not the worst place to start. Anyway,
It's not. It's a good place.
yeah.
But I've always, as I say, been passionate about supporting people, bringing out their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd always go into a job, really enjoy it for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and then end up thinking, am I in the right job? What's going on? And I could never put my finger on what it was.
Yeah.
And then I've always wanted to work for myself, but never been brave enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a great believer in things happen for a reason. And unfortunately, there's a question mark there. About 5 years ago, I went through treatment for breast cancer, and I was coming out of that and really thinking, what shall I do? I'm not sure. And somebody said, well, or a great friend of mine now said, fill in this questionnaire. It's all about what motivates you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, well, I've done personality profiles, but this report came back and just suddenly there were so many light bulb moments, the whole room lit up, and it completely made sense of everything that I've gone through at work, because my main motivators at that time were slightly different now, but were making a difference.
Yeah.
And actually coming up with solutions to problems. Well, when you're going into a brand new job, you're doing that all the time, aren't you?
All new, yeah.
And then actually when you've been there a couple of years, you're still making a difference. But actually that was when the shine went off it for me. And so that really sort of really hit home for me how important understanding motivation is. So, as I say, that was about 5 years ago, and I've really developed a real expertise and a passion now around how crucial it is for people to really take notice of motivation and what motivates them, because if you think about it, it's what gets us out of bed in the morning.
Absolutely.
And actually it's so linked to well-being and mental health that if we can support our motivation, then actually it supports everything and we can achieve more. So I love working with schools and with teachers and students and with parents, and we'll talk a bit more about that, but also with businesses, because there's so many people that have really struggled with lockdown, and I think motivation is even more crucial at the moment than it normally is.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. That's really helpful to sort of frame our conversation for people to learn, a bit more about sort of who you are and what you've been up to. I suppose my first thought was around, I can see how it's absolutely something that you enjoy, the whole being able to support others to find the sort of motivation and in a way the happiness and well-being and the health benefits that come with that. And you also mentioned that you always thought one day of sort of doing your own thing and working for yourself. So is it like a charity? Is it a business? How does it work on the kind of how you earn a living from it?
So I'm a coach
Yeah.
and a motivation consultant, really.
Yeah.
I do training workshops and one-to-one coaching, working with young people and working with businesses and individuals.
And I can see, like you mentioned, you started in HR. I'd imagine in the business world, if a business is looking at do they have budget and where they're going to spend it for the well-being of the staff, this does actually fit that box very well. So sort of me and you know from our HR background that sort of businesses are looking at recruitment and retention, and within retention it's a lot about the sort of KPIs around the sick days and the generally just the happiness and well-being of staff affects the business on a very real level. It's a bit like when I talk about disability inclusion in general, like overall as a society, we should have inclusion of disabled people, and we should at the workplace have happy, healthy workers and employees just because it's the right thing to do. But I think when there's a way of aligning that with the business element, businesses are set up to make profit. But as I talk about a lot, there's the purple pound and the talent pool of disabled people. I'd imagine for you in the general motivation sense, it makes business sense. So is that something you found businesses feeding back to you?
Completely. I mean, I've been running webinars through lockdown for furloughed staff as well, because although businesses can't involve furloughed staff in employees in working, they can do training with them and development that's allowed even when staff are furloughed.
Yeah.
And I was really shocked. I was on a webinar last week or the week before, and 40% of businesses haven't been in touch with their staff at all that have been furloughed.
Wow.
I know you looked as shocked as I was.
That is crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I get really cross about the term human resources, because we are not resources. Your employees are your biggest asset.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not the same as a table. We're individuals.
Yeah.
And we need to be treated as such, and you need to value staff. And actually, just bringing them together to understand, because I combine all the work I do on motivation with positive psychology as well, and talking about the change curve and how it's normal for us all to be going through these different emotions during lockdown, and then thinking about how we can maintain our motivation and do really simple things, and actually just bringing the team together on a Zoom call can make a huge difference.
Do you think that, because I've heard some people on furlough that are really scared to go anywhere near their job because, like you were saying in the beginning, there is the rule that you're not, if you're seen to be working while you're on furlough, that's a problem and that's not allowed. Is that partly where the issue is, that there's a difference between you shouldn't be doing your job when you're on furlough, but there should be that broader well-being and happiness that with the training that is allowable, maybe that's not been communicated to the staff?
Yeah, it's possibly that. Maybe business owners aren't fully aware of that as well. But we also know that, okay, there's going to be a huge number of redundancies, and supporting staff and managing those in a fair way, not only for the staff that will be affected, but also to show the staff that are remaining that actually you're a company that really values your people. Is so crucial. But I think businesses, sorry, I've completely lost my track of thought there. We'll blame it on the menopause brain.
No, that's very interesting what you're saying, though. We essentially we are in the sort of COVID part of things at the moment. I can imagine that, it's hard to be motivated when when you are within work, but at home, if you were used to an office. Maybe we'll come on to that in a minute. But yeah, like the people that I can imagine there's some societal impression that if you're being paid 80% or you're on full pay and the business is topping up the 20%, but essentially if you're being paid to be at home and not work, how great that might sound. But I think there's guilt associated from some people, but there's also just boredom and not having, there's only so much cleaning and gardening you can do as well, right?
And if you've got staff that are motivated by learning, which is one of the 9 different motivators, what a great opportunity to provide them with the resources to learn and develop their skills.
Yeah.
So the thought that I lost a minute ago was actually when people are furloughed, there's going to be a lot of people that have really taken the time to think about where their careers are going, and may actually be looking at new opportunities. And if their current employers are completely ignoring them, that's not going to really help them be incentivized to stay in that current role, is it?
No, and that's the sort of business case again, isn't it? That while some employers aren't doing those things and it's missed opportunities, but they're maybe just like, oh, well, that's just how it is. But there will be businesses, I'm sure, that are embracing those opportunities to keep in touch and to do some training. And they're going to be the businesses that win in the longer run, because they're going to get more demand from more talented employees to come and work for them. So there's that upside of the ones that do it well will win.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so many different areas to take it. So I think we sort of started with, the fact that it's a business. You're a coach and a consultant, so you're paid to provide these services and this very valuable service. I mean, on that, I'm always very interested on the entrepreneurial business side. I mean, did it take quite a while to build up the client base and sort of sell into paying customers, or was it something that kind of kicked off pretty quickly?
I've been very lucky because I've really got 4 income streams, which has really helped. So I have a few retained HR clients who I love and really love working with. I also sit on employment tribunal panels, which is fascinating work. And I also sit on PIP appeal tribunals as well. So, and I think from starting a business, it was really important to have those different income streams. I think the danger is, for me certainly, I've sort of, my motivation business is what I love and what I'm passionate about. But actually, I was allowing the security of the other income streams it really held my business back for a start. And now I've adjusted that and really enjoying, and I'm far more motivated as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you obviously have to still be very self-aware and constantly in touch with what motivates you to be able to serve your clients and customers, right?
Yeah, and that's why I started doing free webinars for parents during lockdown on how to support and engage children, because obviously that again is a huge challenge at the moment with so many kids at home. And I knew that it was benefiting everybody that joined the webinar, but actually selfishly it was really benefiting me as well, because I know that it was making a difference. And it was really motivating me to make such a difference.
That's the perfect sweet spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. We've got a comment from Gavin. Motivational lack of it affects everyone. I think it's why a lot of people find motivated disabled people, inverted commas, inspiring, as they realize it takes more to motivate yourself when you have more barriers to success. The truth is motivated by motivated people. I think one thing would be good to just clarify is it, because obviously there's a lot of topical focus around disability with my work and the work I do with Purple Goat and the Daily Sip, but you don't, it's not like you only work with disabled people, is it? You work with all people. But I mean, have you worked with, I would have thought that the 22% of the population have a disability, you probably have worked with disabled people. It'd be interesting from Gavin's sort of point, do you find that people with a disability have more motivation than someone without, or is it sort of just down to different personality type separate to disability?
I think it's probably down to resilience and that growth mindset as well. And I know
resilience comes up a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, resilience. And I think it's really interesting to think about where resilience comes from, because obviously when I'm sitting on PIP tribunals, that's a real it's a real I just sit there, and a lot of the time I want to go and talk to the people that have been into tribunals and afterwards, which I obviously can't do, but you see the people that are obviously motivated and really doing well, sort of showing how much we can have obviously found life a lot more difficult. And actually that's the sort of that's when I want to go and say, let's just work and support you. I was so fortunate that I was surrounded by love when I was growing up, and I had the most amazing parents, and I'm lucky that I've still got them. But actually, whatever I wanted to do, I did. And I think that is where the motivation comes from. And Andy was talking to you yesterday about circuit boards, and when he was asking his employees with disabilities to build circuit boards, they'll sit and they'll do it till they've done it. And I think part of the way I've achieved things is because I'm just bloody minded, and I'm determined to show everybody else that I can do things.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what motivates me as well. And I think it's that dogged determination that really enables us to achieve things.
How do you, because I know that I've always had a very positive can-do mindset. Of course, state the obvious, but I've had those periods where life gets a bit much, or you just feel a bit tired and a bit down. And, I often find that growth comes from those challenges. And so I'm more aware of that now, so I don't freak out. Whereas maybe when I was younger, it would be more scary that I felt a bit sad or a bit, burnt down with health and all that sort of stuff. But generally, I've had that sort of growth, positive can-do mindset. When people don't have that, I don't know, there's maybe even a debate about, is it nature or nurture as well? But like, if I try to support someone but they're just not open to it, they can feel like a bit criticized or attacked, that you're suggesting that they have got the ability to change, that they can affect the environment around them. They feel like they are almost a victim to circumstance, and there's nothing they can do about it. How would you empathetically and compassionately and sensitively be able to try and help that person to sort of come out from that very guarded mindset?
So
in a sense, Sarah.
Yeah. Do you want me to answer so many problems? I think it's focusing on what people's strengths are, and there's some really good exercises that you can do very easily and very compassionately to start people looking at, actually, we've all got strengths. We've just got to unlock them.
So you point out the good things. Yeah, that's true.
So it's focusing on those little things. And it's a bit like, so there's there's a real thing with positive psychology about if we write down 3 good things that have happened each day, and if you do that for 30 days, the benefits of that, it's been scientifically proven, last for 3 months. And actually, it can be when you're in that mindset that the world isn't a good place, it can be so difficult to look for 3 positive things. But it could just be seeing the sunshine in the middle of winter, or just bumping into someone that said hello. It can be a really simple thing. But actually, if we start looking for them, so that if we're saying actually every day I'm going to do 3 things, it really trains your brain to look out for positive things rather than negative things. And it's the same as if when in the good old days when we were all going out to work or to school, rather than saying, how was your day when somebody comes in, just say, oh, what's been good about today? Even when we're working at home, we can do that. And actually, that subtle change in language changes the whole response. And we know the other thing with writing down 3 good things is that you experience that boost of serotonin and dopamine when you see the sunshine or see the cat do a stupid thing. You then experience it again if you write it down. And then if you've got it in a little notebook and you flick through it before you write today's things down, you get that boost of serotonin and dopamine, which are the feel-good hormones. You get those again. So it's really boosting those good feelings. And we know from a mental health aspect and maintaining a positive mental health how crucial that is.
And I suppose with the lockdown, and there's sort of lessened with the lockdown, and things are more moving around, and there's different anxieties now about going back out, and the virus is obviously still there. But I was thinking that when we were in the middle of the lockdown, just having that bit of fresh air in the garden, and like for me, I'm in quite a remote area, so I took the dog out, and I didn't bump into any people, and like that was amazing. That was like a daily highlight that I tuned into the positivity of that.
It really amuses me actually, because I'm lucky I've got a tricycle. So through lockdown, I've been going out on my bike far more than I normally do. And every single person without fail that I pass, I smile and say hello to. And actually, I always do that. I'm that sort of person. But it's really funny the responses you get, because some people sort of think, oh, that mad disabled woman, and they don't. Other people you'll end up having a lovely socially distanced conversation.
Yeah.
But even saying hello and smiling at someone really does help.
Agreed. And that's something actually I was going to ask a moment ago, and sort of double interested to ask it now, is within the business world. So I'm reading a book at the moment called The Buddha and the Badass by a guy called Vishen Lakhiani. And it's all around workplace culture and how to sort of have a thriving, business, but from the people perspective, like the sort of really in a way the HR side, if you like. And so obviously we've talked about how you support individuals or teams, like the actual staff of a company. But do you ever work with the business on a policy level? So there are things that happen week in, week out, or month in, month out that create motivation. And the reason I sort of prompt for this question is you're talking about connection with others being such a fundamental need and making us feel good as humans. And I think sometimes we've been led to believe that workplaces are not the place for friendships and, having fun. You're just there to do the work. But research is showing now, this is what this book is it reiterating, that, to have friendships and have social connections at work is so good for us as individuals, but it ends up being better for the business as well. So has that fed into any sort of policy work you've done at businesses?
So I haven't done policy work, but it's interesting. So we've all got 9 different motivators. And one of those motivators is relationships.
Yeah.
So there are some people, and you can tell those people. There's some people at work that really do go to work for those friendships. There's other people who actually go to work to get the job done.
Yeah.
And it's not that friendship isn't important to them.
They maybe get it out of work.
Yeah. And actually that can make a real difference, because if you've got that real need, which is what motivators are for friendships, and you go into work and you go, oh, had a brilliant weekend, this happened, that happened, and you say to someone else, oh, what did you do? And it's like, oh, I had a good weekend, thanks. And actually, those people with strong relationship motivators can be really upset and offended. And actually, what have I done? Because why don't they like me? And actually, it's nothing to do with that. It's just that actually they're at work for a different reason.
Yeah, that's true. But is there still I think you're right, like friendship and relationship I can definitely see those sort of two groups of people, if you like, and there's probably other ways of or more versions of those groups as well. But I guess it's still like if you're at work 8 hours a day in a building working with other people, it's still nice to just, not to talk about the weekend, but like to still have those conversations and that together feeling of being in a team.
Yeah, and I think that's, someone said actually what we've got to do when we're at home is look at how we can recreate those coffee moments or those water cooler moments. And I thought actually that's a really good way of looking at it, because you don't have those, oh, what are you doing tonight? And those really nice little social interludes.
Yeah. When I was saying to you before we went on about how I'm so productive at home with all the lockdown because I'm literally just going, meeting to meeting without a commute in the middle. And, you're sort of lucky if you've got 2 minutes to grab a drink or nip to the loo. And that's not actually that positive. I think it can be too intense, particularly with the screen time. And so there's an element about not overdoing the productivity, but without having those the sort of traveling, commuting, and those water cooler moments, there's a lot gets done. And I guess it's a balance of the two, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think one thing that's really concerning me at the moment, we spoke earlier about the people that to furloughed and maybe feeling guilty, but I think there's also another group of people that are working absolutely flat out from home.
Picking up the slack
when people are scheduling Zoom calls back to back, and I can see a real issue with burnout coming because people aren't getting those car journeys or those walking from one meeting to another to actually process and sort of have that time that we all need between meetings.
That's so true.
And I know I'm guilty of that. I've had some great calls, and I don't know about you, but I've made some amazing contacts during lockdown, and I know that I'm not following them up when I come off calls because I'm going straight into another one.
In fact, I do a disabled founders journal, so I record 5 to 10 minutes every evening of what I've sort of learned and experienced in that day. So you were talking earlier about listing the almost gratitude journal. I'm not quite listing everything I'm grateful for, but it has that sentiment where I'm just reflecting on the day, and I just do it as audio and I put it up on my podcast. And I say other entrepreneurs, but I think different people find it interesting for different reasons. And yesterday's I called it conversation versus administration, and it was exactly that I've had so many conversations and I love it. I'm probably better and I prefer conversations than administration, but as you say, you have to follow up with things. And say paperwork is a bit old school because I haven't touched paper in about a few years now, but it's the documents and the emails, and some of that's still needed to consolidate, or even just, as you said, in your own brain to reflect on the conversations. I think that's a really important point for people.
And I think when running a business for yourself as well, actually all the networking, you've got to do follow-ups, otherwise you're going to lose out on business opportunities.
Agreed. No, it's an interesting one. Well, we're getting sort of getting towards the end. Was there anything else that you were really keen to share or to speak about, Sarah?
I think we've covered loads, Martin. I could
talk to you
for ages.
Well, we go up to one, but very often we finished earlier when there's a natural pause. I mean, a couple of comments came in actually. So Georgia saying, "I love what you're doing. Motivation and meaningful occupation is so important right now." And Rachel is saying, "I am here." So good to have you here, Rachel.
Thanks, Georgia. It's so important. And actually, if anybody wants to find out more about the different motivators, my website is plainsailingmotivation.co.uk, or I've got my free webinars on Eventbrite, or you can book through the website. And I also offer 15-minute motivational discovery telephone calls. So
Brilliant.
if anybody wants to have a quick chat and find out a bit more, then I'd love to talk to them. Yeah.
And I think you've said it earlier, but just to clarify that's anyone. It's not just businesses and HR, although it includes that. If anyone from that world is looking for it, but it's also parents, students, every walk of life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just we touched on this earlier, but with so many people going through redundancy at the moment, I've just been talking to another colleague, and we're now going to be offering some affordable outplacement packages that really focus on supporting people to really process what's happening with redundancy, look at actually what do they want to do next, and then look at getting a good CV and having interview prep.
That's great. I mean, you mentioned, you ended up doing what you're doing now because you took stock of your motivators and felt maybe it was time for a change. And I think we talked about with COVID-19, the reason why, I think it was Roberto talking about air travel, but he was saying that because it's such an abrupt change to human life, human habit, human behavior, we're actually more open to changes, to doing things differently. And so I think, there's a lot of problems around the virus and the death rate and the even the economic and the redundancies are all very real and very challenging. But I do feel that for a lot of people, it could be that opportunity to change their career or change other things in their life. And it won't be necessarily comfortable and feel easy, but they'll probably look back on it in a few years and see that it was, it was COVID-19 that got them to make a change that was for the better in the long run.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a bit like going through, a serious health issue like I did. You sort of think at the time, this is awful, but actually looking back, as I said before, I'm a true believer that actually everything happens for a reason. And it's finding the positives in that. And actually it's been interesting looking at the people's different motivators with their different reactions to COVID, because people who love change and thrive in change conditions, especially when running businesses, they sort of really took the bull by the horns and they were off. Whereas people that love security and stability, sort of, I always imagine them as an oak tree or a lighthouse. They sort of went into hibernation a bit like tortoises and sort of went, oh, I don't like this change, and they're now finding their feet, but they're finding it much more challenging. So even to that aspect, our motivators impact on so much.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, Andy was right. We definitely should have met earlier. I really enjoyed chatting today, and I think we've got very similar, I think, outlook on life. But I think that interest in people and what as you say, very much the word you use is motivate, and just people finding their passion and their interest, and it makes them happier and healthier. But not just business, it's society benefits when we're all doing the kind of things we love. I think it's better for everybody. So
yeah,
really interesting. All right, well, yeah, thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you.
We'll definitely have a catch up in person when we're allowed out and it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see today that the restaurants and bars is going to be the app ordering, which I don't know about you, but for me that's going to be amazing because I've always struggled to get to the bar and put an order in. So again, another sort of silver lining of inclusion and mobility and things like that.
Yes, it's funny how things are working sort of to make life easier for us, isn't it?
It is in some ways,
yeah.
All right, well, have a lovely day, everyone watching.
Right.
Thank you for and I'll be back tomorrow. It's Thursday today, so I'll be back tomorrow at midday talking inclusive politics amongst other things. That should be interesting. And yeah, everyone watching, have a great day, and thanks again, Sarah. Bye-bye.
Thanks.